We live in the age of fact-checking. You Google something, and in 0.24 seconds later, 100 answers appear. Everyone's an expert. Opinions masquerade as truth. And in this noisy world, the Bible, well, it can seem like a dusty old book on grandma's shelf. People ask, hasn't it been rewritten too many times? Wasn't it just written by men? Isn't it full of contradictions? How can something written thousands of years ago speak to modern problems like AI, mental health, injustice, identity, and anxiety? But maybe the better question isn't, can we trust the Bible? Maybe it's, can we afford not to? Lesson 292. Can you trust the Bible in today's world? Let's be real. There are a lot of religious texts in the world. The Quran, the Bhagavad Gita, the Tao Te Ching. Even self-help books sometimes sound spiritual. So what makes the Bible stand out? Here's what's wild. The Bible was written by more than 40 different authors over 1,500 years on 3 continents in 3 languages. And yet it tells one unified story from Genesis to Revelation. That's not just rare. It's impossible, unless it had one author behind all the human hands. 2 Timothy 3:16 says, all scripture is God-breathed and is useful for teaching, rebuking, correcting, and training in righteousness. This isn't just ink on paper. It claims to be the very breath of God. It doesn't just tell us what happened. It tells us why we exist, what went wrong, how to be made whole, and where everything is heading. And you know what? For a book that critics say is full of contradictions, it's pretty consistent about who God is, who we are, and the deep human need for redemption. The point is for you to find God through His Word and let it transform you personally to be who He wants you to be. Forget about ideologies and about being right and focus on renewing your mind and becoming God's own likeness. But there is a valid concern. Let's go there. People say, the Bible's been translated so many times. How can we trust it's still accurate? Here's the truth. Translating doesn't mean changing. It means making it readable in a different language. And unlike the telephone game, where one whisper turns into chaos, the Bible's manuscript history is the opposite. We have over 5,800 Greek manuscripts of the New Testament alone. That's more than any other ancient document. Compare that to Plato's Republic, where we have less than 10 complete manuscripts. No one questions Plato's authenticity. So why are we so quick to doubt the Bible? When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered in the 1940s, they included Old Testament texts that were over 1,000 years older than our previously known copies, and they were nearly identical in content. That's preservation. That's providence. Isaiah 40:8 says, the grass withers, the flower fades, but the word of our God will stand forever. God doesn't play with His word. He has preserved it through empires, fires, dictatorships, and even TikTok trends. Remember, heaven and earth shall pass away, but my words shall not pass away. For the foolish it will become a stumbling block, but for the wise it will be their solid foundation on which they will stand. All right, so maybe it's accurate. But does it matter? Can it actually speak to what we're going through right now? Let's take a look. You scroll social media for 5 minutes, and you're bombarded with anxiety, comparison, political drama, and false hope. But open the Psalms, and you'll hear David cry out, why are you cast down, O my soul, and why are you in turmoil within me? Hope in God. Psalm 42:5. That's raw. That's real. Jesus speaks to loneliness, to betrayal, to temptation, to injustice, to suffering, to dying. He met a woman caught in adultery and gave her dignity. He stood silent when falsely accused. He hung on a cross between 2 criminals. He rose again and said, I am the resurrection and the life. John 11:25. The Bible isn't just old truth, it's eternal truth. It doesn't bow to culture, it stands above it. It doesn't cater to comfort, it calls us to change. The Bible is not just a spiritual book, it's your foundation. It's your compass when you're lost, your daily bread when your soul is starving. It's your roadmap for navigating a chaotic world. That's why the prophet Hosea cried out in Hosea 4:6. My people are destroyed for lack of knowledge, not for lack of passion, not for lack of hustle, but for lack of truth. You weren't meant to guess your way through life. God has spoken clearly, powerfully, and personally. The only question is, are we listening? Let's be honest. Sometimes we don't doubt the Bible because it lacks evidence. We doubt it because it confronts us. We want a God who affirms everything we feel, but the Bible introduces us to a holy God who calls us to die to ourselves. Jesus said in John 8:31-32, "If you abide in my word, you are truly my disciples, and you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free." Freedom starts with truth. But truth often offends before it transforms. We don't need a Bible that simply tells us what we want to hear. We need one that tells us what's true, even when it cuts deep. And maybe the reason it cuts deep is because it's performing heart surgery. God's word doesn't shame you, it saves you. It doesn't just inform, it transforms. So, can you trust it? Yes. You can trust the Bible, not just because it's old or famous or quoted by celebrities when they win an award. You can trust it because it has stood the test of time, criticism, persecution, and cultural shifts. And it's still changing lives. Yours could be next. Look, people will always change. One moment, they'll tell you one thing. The next, something completely different. Life can feel like you're living inside the stock market, up 1 second, down the next. A never-ending scroll of fluctuating opinions and fleeting trends. But God, He doesn't flip-flop. He doesn't give empty promises. He's not swayed by public opinion or today's headlines. Jesus Christ is the same yesterday, today, and forever. Hebrews 13:8. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end, the first and the last. He is your anchor when everything else is shifting. And here's the raw truth. There is no other outcome you can expect in this life if God is not at the center, because He Himself is your life. So the next time someone asks you, can you still trust the Bible in today's world? Smile and say, more than ever. So here's my challenge to you. Don't let the Bible just sit on your nightstand or be a background app in your life. Open it. Wrestle with it. Ask hard questions. And most importantly, let it read you. Start with the Gospel of John. Ask God to speak. And don't just trust your feelings. Trust the one who made you, wrote you into His story, and is calling you home. Drop a comment below. What's one thing you've wrestled with about trusting the Bible? Let's talk about it. If this challenged you, share it with a friend. And remember, truth is not fragile. It can handle your questions. Stay rooted, stay bold, and never stop seeking truth that sets you free. Until next time, grace and peace.